So today we are making a video on the Oreon Linux, which is codename is Lime, and the complete boot menu is right here. So let's quickly boot it in the live boot. So I'm running it on a virtual machine, which is VMware, with 60 GB of hard disk, 8 GB of RAM, and my CPU is i5 1240p. So it's going to take like 2 or 3 minutes to load up the desktop layout. So that's the usual time which consumes in my PC. Whatever the Linux distro is, it should consume like 3 to 4 minutes maximum, or minimum like 2 minutes. So I'll be posting 2 videos daily. So if you want to subscribe, you can subscribe, or else you can just watch the video and just check other channels. I don't have any problem with it. So let's wait and see how much of time it consumes. I'm going to mention the time after it loads the desktop layout. So I'm going to stop talking right now. So here we have the desktop. So the mouse pointer is not properly showing, but I'm going to make it possible by changing the display resolution. So right now still the mouse pointer isn't working on the distro, it's not properly showing. So I'm going to click on the keyboard, no thanks. So as you can see, the mouse pointer is now working. So it should be doing this type of things in some of the Linux distros. So most of the Linux distros will be having no issues, but this time we have the mouse pointer issue just for a few seconds, and here you can see the mouse pointer working properly. So I hope it recorded in the beginning where the mouse pointer wasn't showing. So here you have the two options. Try Oreon. We are already trying the live boot. So if you want to install, you can go with the install the hard disk. It shows the Fedora Linux logo here. I think it should be based on the Fedora Linux, but we were getting all the information in few seconds. So before that, I'm going to mention that I'm going to keep the video raw as possible. I'm not going to trim anything other than the booting process, because I didn't talk anything while it was booting. So I'm going to trim that part, and I'm going to keep the rest of the video raw as possible because I want to give the best content. So there will be misspellings and mistakes by me, so you try to ignore that, or else you can let me know in the comment section if I said anything wrong. So understand, I hope that you should be understanding that. So let's try Oreon. So you can choose install to hard drive in the activities overview at any later time. So the installation is available right here. So let's first check the system monitor to see how much of resources it consumes. So I didn't run any of the application other than the welcome screen. It popped up right itself. So these are all the process running right now. Let's go to the resources. So CPU and the RAM. So let's run it till 60 seconds to get the stable graph, or the graph whatever it is. So sometimes the CPU will be unstable, so you should be seeing a high peak, low peak. There will be no stable graph. So the CPU should be almost running like 60 seconds, and we should be getting the graph like this without any high peak or low peak. It's pretty much stable. So it's under 20%, CPU is under 20%, and the RAM is almost 1.5 GB. So I already mentioned that I'm using 8 GB of RAM for my virtual machine, and cache is 1.5 GB. So these are all the resources right now. File system, here is the file system. Let's check the about. System monitor 40.1. So I already made a video of Oreon Linux, I think maybe 4 or 5 months ago. So if you want to check that out, you can check it out. So I don't think there was a voiceover in that video. So here is the voiceover for the Oreon Linux. The codename is Lime. So here are the resources. So it's pretty much not the lightweight. As you can see, 1.5 GB almost. So you should be considered it as a mid-weight Linux distro. So let's open the internet browser, which is Firefox. So most of the Linux distro will be having a Firefox as the default browser. So the Firefox should take like maybe 20 seconds maximum to open, because we are running on the live boot. So the installation and the live boot, when you install this Linux distros, right now in the live boot it's 1.6 GB because it's using a RAM. So when you install it on the hard disk, the RAM should be lesser, So you don't see much of difference there. You should be seeing 300-400 MB of difference, and CPU should be a bit less there. So that will be a difference. Other than the in live boot and installation, that will be some difference. You don't get a 1 GB or maybe more than 1 GB difference. You should be getting a less, like a 400-500 MB or 400-300 MB. So that should be a difference. So let's check the about Firefox. So the version you get is a 115.7.0. So let me type in about support. You get some distro info and Firefox browser info. About support. Not going to read everything. I'm just going to show you everything. So distribution ID Alma. So you just can pause the video and read everything on your own, because I don't want to make a video lengthy. Usually showing some basic features and some important things should be 20+ minutes, because my Linux videos will be that much of time. So I don't want to make it more lengthy. So here is Mesa. Just pause the video and read everything. Window protocol is a Wayland. Desktop environment is GNOME. So here are some of the informations. So I hope the internet works. So let's see. Let's search Oreon Linux. So as you can see, internet is not working. I don't know whether when we try to install it on the hard disk, maybe it should be working. Right now there is no internet. So I'm going to show you the basic features. So about. So in order to download, you just need to type in Oreon Linux and it should be the first link. So here are some of the information. I'm using a 12th gen, memory is 7.7 GB, and the GNOME version is 40.4.4. So it's almost 46 now. So it's a 6 point release lesser. So software updates. So you can update here. Here are some of the information. So I think there was some information about the GNOME 47. To be honest, I don't have any information. But if you want, I'm going to get the information and I'm going to provide in the community page if you want in the YouTube. So I'm going to close the. Let's check the application information about software 41.5. So it has older version. I thought there will be some new things in the Oreon Linux, but it has the old desktop environment of a GNOME 40. So I hope you should be trying the latest versions instead of Oreon Linux, because it's pretty much old GNOME desktop environment. So if you want to test it, you can test it in the virtual machines. I don't recommend you to install this on the main disk or a workspace or work PC. So because it's an old, you should be always up to date in the operating systems, applications. So again, this is the GNOME. So you should be getting all the information. So always turn off camera and microphone. Only when you use it, you turn it on for safety. So online account, sharing, power, display, mouse and touchpad. Let's put it to scrolling, keyboard, printers, removable media. So again, these are all the same things, nothing changed here. On the accessibilities, nothing. It took a few seconds there to load. So let's see what are the applications we get in the Oreon Linux pre-installed. Under the accessories, you get 3 applications. Under the games, 2. Under the graphics, you get the GIMP and Inkscape, good for content creators. Internet, you get the Firefox, you don't get the Thunderbird or anything like that. Evolution. And under sound and video, you don't get a VLC media player, you get the default video player. And under system tools, you get all those things like a virtual machine manager. That's pretty good. Here is the software, You get the desktop. Let's go back. Under utilities, these are all the things you get. Under Wine, these are all the things. So let's try the terminal. Let's open terminal to get some distro information. So let's keep it in the left side and make it bigger so you can see properly. So keep an eye on the CPU and RAM throughout the video. So let's first check the version. About version 3.40.3 for GNOME 40. So let me type in INXI. So command not found. NeoFetch. Oreon Linux, which is Oreon Lime desktop standard R2. Host is virtual machine and the kernel is 5.14. So the latest version of the Linux kernel is should be 6.10, and the version you get is 5.14 here, and the packages 16.1695. Uptime is almost 11 minutes. So here are some of the information, you can just read it here. So let me type in cat:/etc/issue. Hit enter. So we also have the desktop. So here is the desktop. Let me close. Let me see the installer. So we should be getting an Anaconda installer, I guess. So CPUs are not pretty much stable, so that's an issue right now. Maybe because of the installation. So in the beginning it was pretty much good here. So that's the reason you get the high graph because of the installer. So this is the graph. Right now it's running still in the background, so we need to wait. So here are some desktop features, power options. So here is the panel settings, lock taskbar. Here are some of the information. You can customize according to your wish if you want to test. So if you don't want to test, you can just watch the video and check other channels too. Here is the behavior, here is the action, fine tune, and the about. So still it's open in the background. So welcome to Oreon 9.3. So here are some of the languages available. Pretty much I think everything is covered here. So I'm going to choose continue. So it is an Anaconda installer. So keyboard, I'm going to choose the English. Installation destination, I'm not going to install because I don't want to. I need to make another video. So that's the reason I'm not going to install. So install to hard drive is not responding. You may choose to wait a short while for it to continue or force the application to quit entirely. So I'm going to open it again. So this is an Anaconda installer. So there is nothing complicated or new things in the Anaconda installer. So you get the old Anaconda installer. So that's the installation. So you don't get any bloatware applications other than some GIMP and Inkscape and just a few apps, like a 5 to 6 apps added from the Oreon Linux. Other than that, there is nothing new in the applications. You don't get any bloatware or anything like that. So let's click on continue. So here you have the no network devices. Here is user creation. You need to provide the username, full name, and the password. If you want to make this user administrator, you can check this box. Click on done. So the time and date you can choose. Root password, you need to provide the root password if you want. So installation destination, choose your installation. So I'm going to quit it because I don't want to. So you get the older GNOME version. I don't even recommend this Linux distro to try. You can try it in the virtual machine, but if you want to try to install it as a main PC or work PC, don't try to do that because you get the older version. So I don't even think it still gets some updates or something like that. So it's pretty much I don't think it's a better option to install this on the hard disk on your main PC or work PC, because you get the GNOME 46 version of Ubuntu or some other Linux distros which are well known also. You can go with that type of Linux distro instead of the if they had some latest packages and latest version of the desktop environments or other desktop environment options. I would recommend Linux distro, but you don't get anything. You just get the GNOME desktop environment, which is almost like 6 versions old. So that's the reason I'm not going to recommend it. So let's try to open some applications here. So basically I'm doing a stress test, which I do in every video of mine in my channel. So the meaning of a stress test is like opening like a 15 to 20 applications at once to see whether the Linux distro will handle that stress or just it will crash and should be getting some pop-ups like not responding, all those things. So you can judge on that thing whether to use this Linux distro or not. You don't need to judge only on that thing. You need to consider all those things, whether the ISO file is latest version or the beta version, or the Linux distro is like a long supported one or just the year or 2 year support. So you need to consider all those things, and you can judge whether to use that Linux distro or not. So basically you get like a older GNOME desktop environment. That's a negative point, and let's see whether it will crash or not by opening like a 15 to 20 applications. So it pretty much responding instantly, so that's a good thing. So resources, it's almost let's see the resources. So it's almost like a 3.3 GB or 4 GB nearly when we open like a 5 to 6 applications. So a normal user will be opening like a 4 to 5 applications at least when he is working normally while watching video, and if he's editing like that. So if you have like a 2 GB of RAM, I don't really think it will be running smoothly. Even if I have like 8 GB of RAM, it's pretty much a millisecond of delay, so you can ignore that. So it's still working properly, but I have like a 8 GB of RAM and I have like a iFi 1240p. So you need to understand that we have the latest specs, so that's the reason it's still working properly. But if you have like a low-end PC, I don't know how it will be working. So it almost consume like 3.4 GB of RAM. So most of the Linux users should be using like a 2 GB of RAM or maybe like a dual boot options. So you need to understand that it's a GNOME desktop environment. You know how much of resources it consumes. So you don't get any other desktop environments in their official website. When you try to download, you should be getting Oreon Linux, which is Lime, and you should be getting an business ISO file. So you get the two options there. So let's try to open some other applications. The system tools, we opened pretty much everything, I guess. In the Office, you don't get the LibreOffice, so can't open anything. Let's open the GIMP and Inkscape. So these are all the applications which consumes a bit of resource. So we can get an idea whether this Linux distro will handle properly or not. So there is no lag or there is no delay in opening the applications, so that's the good thing. But you have the older GNOME desktop environments, so that's the only issue right now. And the internet is also not properly working, so we didn't set up any internet connection, so that's one more issue. So we opened pretty much applications which consumes resources like Inkscape, GIMP and Firefox, maybe the software manager and some other applications. So let's try to switch the applications to see whether it will crash or not. So as you can see, every application is switching instantly, so there is no lag. So that's a good thing when you test it. Right now everything is working fine. Let's click on new document. So there is no lag or any crash. You get just a pop-up of a Wine installer. So other than that, no lag. Let's see the resources. So as you can see, it's consuming almost like a 5 GB of RAM. So most of the Linux distro users will be at least having a 4 GB of RAM. So most of the users shouldn't be having like a 8 GB. I don't think a lot of users will be having like a 8 GB of RAM in the Linux distros. because most of the users should be using for the old PCs. Linux should be, most of the Linux user will be using Linux in the older PCs, or maybe like in the dual boot options. Some of the cases there should be a separate only Linux distro users, so there are some type of people there. So I kept like 8 GB of RAM and I'm running on a live boot. So it's consuming almost like a 5 GB and cache is like a 4.3 GB. So it's a bit of a heavy resource consuming Linux distro. And let's check the process. So I didn't open any of the heavy consuming apps, just the GIMP, Inkscape and the browser, which a normal user will be opening in a day-to-day task. So while he's editing or while he's working. So these are all the basic applications. Like you should be watching something like on the Firefox web browser, using a YouTube and the GIMP or Inkscape while working. So when you open like a 5 to 6 applications, it's pretty much like this, 5 GB and processor this much. So if you had like a XFC or LXQT desktop environment, you should be good, but you get the GNOME desktop environment and the pre-installed applications are nothing. So just the Inkscape and GIMP and the Firefox will be available in almost every Linux distro. Instead of going with the Oreon Linux distro, you can check other Linux distros which has the latest GNOME desktop environment and should be having like a LTC. So if you ask me, I don't even really recommend this Linux distro because it has the older GNOME desktop environment and I don't think it's an ISO file is the latest version. So it's clearly up to you. You can test it on the virtual machines, but when you ask whether to install it on the main PC or work PC, from me it's pretty much no, because I already said like a 3 to 4 times. So let's check the about information and end the video. So the stress test, it handled pretty much smoothly without lag or anything like that. Everything was working properly, so that's a good thing. So Inkscape version is 1.1. Let me close it. File manager 40.2. Anaconda, you can authenticate. Other locations, computer, you can go check all the folders if you want. You can customize if you want. You can even edit your preference and all those things. So you know to do all those things in every Linux distro. So let me close it all. We already saw the GNOME Firefox browser version. About text editor, you get the 40. So you pretty much get every GNOME desktop environment application version will be like a 40 or like a 41. Let's check the GIMP version. So it says as an unstable development version. Let's see what version we have. 2.99.8. I think the stable version is like a 2.10, I guess. So here is the cheese, 3.38.0. The document viewer. Here is the art menu settings. Menu layout, you can customize your menu theme. If you want to customize, you can customize everything. So that's a good thing for customization. Button appearance, miscellaneous, about. So here is the welcome of the backup. So let's close it, which is evaluation. Here is the version. So I think I pretty much covered everything. So I'm going to end the video here because we didn't have any internet. So in order to download or test it in the virtual machine, you can just type in like a Oreon Linux. I'm not going to provide any links or anything like that. So you can just type it in the search engine and you should be getting the ISO file there. So at the end of the video, these are all the resources and these are all the process. So it's clearly up to you to judge whether to use this Linux distro or not. I said my final thoughts, which is not to use this Linux distro because it has the older version of GNOME. So everything is good. There was no lag or anything or any crashes or anything. So it's clearly up to you to judge whether to use it or not. So let's see the logout screen and end the video. Let's see what else we see in the logout screen. So here is the logout screen. Nothing changed, just the Oreon Lime logo. And thanks for watching. Peace out.